We're 5 mythical immortal players with over 40,000 matches of experience, and today we will show you the updated tier list. I know you guys have wanted a tier list for some time, but we needed to see how the emblem revamp is panning out first, so we have an actual accurate list. You will get the requested second tier list that covers the low ranks very soon. Let's start with the jungler tier list. What makes a strong jungler even strong? You need to know why certain heroes are good, because otherwise you can't use them to their fullest potential. A good jungler should have a decent clearing speed to rotate, and they should be able to secure objective, turtle and lord and the turret. They should also be able to help in ganks whenever the team needs them. They should also be able to fend off invasions on their own. Because of the new emblem changes, all tank junglers have either fallen down a tier or have plummeted into the abyss that the 𝐉𝐤𝐽s and aloe call their home, but pretty much all damage-focused junglers have significantly increased in popularity. Yeah, sort of. Damage junglers are back, baby! The main reason why tank junglers are becoming just a shadow of themselves is because Molten Essence and Cursed Helmet received a big nerf, and they lost their jungle emblem, which is another big hit for them. Only Season Hunter is left, which doesn't help them enough to stay on top. In contrary, the new Assassin emblem gives you that crazy 16 flat pan, which makes Assassins strong as hell in the early game, so they can snowball much better again. Now let's start with the S tier list. The junglers who are meta right now are Fanny, Martis, Ling, and Alpha? This guy literally rushed from the F tier up to the S tier, which is crazy if you think about it. You just know how broken this man or robot is with how fast this guy can clear this buff with a little extra Karina on the side. He is extremely sustainable because of his spell vamp, but also is able to melt down tanks now because of his true damage. Let alone the squishies who are pretty much dead with just one full combo. His ult has such a low cooldown that you can literally just bam it around like there is no tomorrow. So he can chase or retreat however he wants. Everybody who heads back to have an alpha meta is probably regretting every word they have said right now. Though at least we know that Moonton is trying to revive the dead and forgotten heroes. Ling didn't even receive a buff from the last patch, so how is he an S tier hero now? Well, it's because of the emblem changes. Who would have guessed that? The changes to the emblem system have given him almost everything he needs to make him so goddamn strong. The Assassin emblem can give you up to 21 flat pan from the start of the game if you use Rupture, which on itself is pretty OP because of the negative pen and negative armor mechanic we have in the game. Then use Season Hunter for better clearing speeds, and add Killing Spree or Lethal Ignition for a bit more survivability or burst damage. Without the tank junglers, he have a much easier time to freely roam around the map and hunt all those squishies, or to split push a turret away. Next we have Martis, who's the only remaining S tier jungler. His kit just screams snowballing. He has extremely nice clearing speed, so when you feed this maniac with enough kills, he can just slice through the enemy's lines without any problem. He can still thrive in today's meta for sure. And lastly, Fanny is also considered as an S tier hero because of her insane mobility and burst capabilities. Lethal Ignition has given almost every burst assassin a crazy buff, as it can be used by both magic and physical users. And the damage on it is no joke. Pretty much all burst heroes should take it for how crazy it is right now. And they can still use Season Hunter at the same time, as it's a second tier talent now. Fanny mains are rejoicing right now. In Mythic, there are actually only a few people who ban Fanny right now, so take advantage by becoming one of those crazy Fanny mains. By the way, if you want a guide about any of the mentioned heroes or your own gameplay analyzed, make sure to click on the join button and become an MLG family member today. Next, we have a look at the A and B tier. Tanks is one of the heroes that suffered hard from the tank jungler nerfs, but he will always remain popular with just how quickly he can dash around during team fights. Predator also suffered by the still viable and higher ranks, and Bane with his crazy clearing speed on the jungle creeps is another good choice. Now lastly, let's look at the lower tiers and talk about why the lowest tier heroes are bad. 𝐉𝐤𝐽 is not a good jungler cause he takes way too long to scale and is super easy to invade. Hylos is in the same boat as the other tank junglers since they have started to die out, and the same goes for Basha. Now let's head over to the XP lane. Let's again start with what a good XP laner needs to be good. They should be able to keep their lane safe or even be able to win the lane against their opponent. And they should be there at turtle fights to cause immense pressure. They should also be able to clear the wave quickly or even cut the lane so they are able to rotate when necessary. Now that we have a definition of what the good XP laner should be in our heads, we can see many familiar faces on the S tier list that I will run through very quickly. Joy is still a dangerous side laner as she has still so much mobility and CC immunity. The same goes for 𝐼𝐬𝐧 for how disgusting his heal dashes and CC can be. But we also have a newcomer, which is the second hero I ever made. It is Uranus. Don't. He has been down in the ditch for a very long time and it's so nice to see him coming back into the meta. Well, unless you have to face him. With the new common emblem, he is finally able to show his potential again. You see, the new common emblem allows you to have 15 hybrid regen, meaning you regenerate mana and HP so quickly, which you can combine with his own healing mechanic. Take a look at these two clips where I have the common emblem on the left and the support emblem on the right. Just look how easy it is to regain mana without relying on Enchanted Talisman. When you're not using Enchanted Talisman, you may lose that 20% CDR, but do you really need that 20% over more defensive items? You can just regain this 20% CDR from other defensive items, which provides way more utility for Uranus. Without having to build Enchanted Talisman anymore, you can build your defense items much quicker, can invade and cut lanes however you want. And as damage junglers has come back into the meta, we need to compensate more sustain somewhere. And so, a regen/sustain hero is perfect for that role. So, why are Lapu Lapu or Yuzong not an S tier hero? Both heroes have benefited immensely from the new fighter emblem, as their spellbomb can go up to 20% with a full Festival of Blood, which is essentially a free Bloodlust axe. So why are they not on the S tier? Well, we just have to remember how good the heroes on the top are. It's not like Lapu Lapu and Yuzong are bad heroes in this meta, but they are just not as OP as the three mentioned heroes above, which is why they aren't banned as often as the others, which makes them perfect waifu material. Other notable XP laners are Glue, who has still his strong poking ability, Edith with her insane damage when she unleashes a full passive on her ult, and Benedetta with her ability to easily reach the backline. Now let's check some low tier heroes. Gato-Gacha's kit is just way too niche to be a roamer or XP laner. His ult takes so long to cast that my father might actually come back with the milk before it lands. Aulus takes way too long to properly deal damage, so he will always lose his lane. And Phoveus is only usable when the enemy's team is full of dash heroes. Next, we move on to the mid lane. A good mid laner is usually a mage who can support their team in all situations, whether in ganks, objective fights, or ambushes, and someone who can clear minion waves fast so they are not stuck on the lane. The mage lineup is pretty much the same as ever. Eve still reigns as one of the best high-rank mages, as your allies actually know how to benefit from her chessboard. Paramis is also still absolutely bonkers despite the nerfs he received, as he provides this amazing second life utility and his damage is really high. With the rise of the assassin junglers again, you better pray that his ult can save you, and not to mention that he can just respawn after a few seconds when he got his stats. Novaria provides you team vision. You're essentially map hacking a chunk of the map and slowing everybody while also making their hitboxes bigger. Combined with her poke potential from so far away and her clearing speed, which is fast as hell, Novaria has been a meta mage in high ranks ever since her release. Now you may be asking, what happened to someone like Xavier or Valentina? If you have seen the old tier list, you would remember those two were ST heroes. So what happened? Well, for starters, Xavier scaled too long compared to the mentioned mages like Eve. He needs at least 2 to 3 items to consistently be able to support his team. And as a mid laner, you should be able to provide support to your team as soon as possible, so you're able to help in ganks and rotations. And that Moontok killed the mage emblem is certainly not helping as well. He's still a great hero, but doesn't have the S tier quality anymore like others. And about Valentina, she has gotten the Cho and 1-1 treatment where she just gets a nerf on top of a nerf on top of a nerf on top of a nerf, to the point where you don't even see her in the ban section anymore. I mean, not too long ago, Valentina was the most banned hero in the freaking game. Just look at these stats from over a year ago. Despite the drop from the S to the A tier, she's still a solid pick to be able to steal the enemy's ultimate to help your team. There's also 𝐾𝐸𝐬, who has risen in popularity in the past months. She can counter basically all meta mages and dashless heroes with her kit, and is excelling especially in chaotic ganks where she can easily take out 2 or more enemies. Now let's race through the low tiers. 𝐵𝐸 is still a meme hero as it takes him way too long to scale, while it's also way too easy to escape him. Selena's clearing speed is horrendous and she runs out of mana stupidly fast, and Aurora has 0 mobility and relies on her combo 99% of the time. She's just like a worse Eudora since she has to rely on her passive to be able to freeze her enemies. Next we have the gold lane. A good gold laner must have the following attributes. If you play a marksman, they need to deal a nice amount of damage while being able to stay safe on their own throughout the whole match. If you play another hero, they are mostly there to keep the enemy's marksman as low as possible or have huge late game potential themselves. In this role, we have a little bit of a switcheroo. 1-1 used to be the only SD hero on the list, but now because of the nerfs, especially the mobility nerf on her passive jumps, she isn't even an SD hero anymore. Her reign as the best gold laner ended after almost 1 year. Moonton, you for ruining my main, you I hope you're moving back. Luckily, the other marksmen listed above have benefited greatly from the new assassin emblem, which is why they're able to shine in today's meta. Yes, the marksman emblem is dead. Watch our video after this one, so let's talk about them. Brody with the assassin emblem is actually crazy, as he gets 16 or even 21 flat penetration if he sacrifices his movement speed for Rapture. So now his laning phase has become even stronger than before, and we all know he was already super strong before the changes. He has a ton of burst, a decent stun for survivability purposes, and one of the most annoying ults in history which you can't escape unless you become immune. Even if you can't use Killing Spree because how bad it became, you can use Quantum Charge instead, as it will give you a lot of mobility. Claude has also been popular in high ranks due to how mobile he can be. His early game is very bad of course, but in high ranks your allies know this and will help you. Hopefully, but once you got your items, your damage rises higher than my... People who say he's bad because he can't secure kills don't understand his full potential. Sure, he doesn't deal as much damage as the other marksmen, or he can't be as aggressive during the laning phase. He does, however, have something what most marksmen doesn't have: speed. He got a teleport skill, a fast wave clearing skill, and extra movement speed. During clashes, he can steal the majority of the damage with his AoE ult and have his team clear up the remaining enemies. He's also one of those heroes who benefit extremely from the basic common emblem. As the basic emblem has so much mana regen, you essentially never run out of mana. Beatrix is also still very popular because of her flexible kit. Being able to change your weapons depending on the situation is just really good. Like, you can use your sniper to poke enemies, but use your grenade launcher to clear waves much faster. The most popular marksman right now is still Leslie though. Before, she was part of the legendary 4 marksmen of Doom. But since Moonton slapped endless true damage on her, she became meta after a while. Seriously, being able to dish out damage that can go through all armor is just OP AF. Even Wind of Nature has no effect on her passive damage, so other marksmen can't really do anything against her. If you have an enemy lastly, you better make sure to finish the game as soon as possible, before she gets all of her items and 2 shoots you away. There are also some other notable gold laners that aren't in the S tier but still really good. Melissa is still a huge lane bully and her damage potential is insane. Her mobility is really good with her first skill, and although the attack speed bonus nerf affected her early game damage, she is still really great in laning. Her ult is also still very useful for this pesky people who try to touch you without consent. And with the rise of assassin junglers, This skill is even more useful than before. Moskov can also be really good in solo queue if you master him. He can pretty much wipe out an entire team with one well-set Inspire. Though he isn't picked as often as Leslie due to the fact that it requires you to play very aggressive with him, which contradicts the role of being a marksman. Let's also go through the low rank heroes. Although being a half marksman, 𝐃𝐤𝐬𝐬 should never go to the gold lane, as he'll just get zoned out by most gold laners. Like Granger, he's just much better as a jungler. Granger is probably even worse in the gold lane as his first skill is so easily blocked by minions. Plus he also doesn't scale as well into the late game like other marksmen. Popol also used to be very good, but he needs a few buffs to compete in the gold lane nowadays. His talk can be a little funky at times, which affects his performance, and his overall damage isn't high enough anymore to compete with the other marksmen. He basically slid down the tiers as everyone else around him got huge buffs while he was just sitting silently in the corner with his puppy. And finally, we're talking about everyone's favorite solo queue role, roamers. Well, in higher ranks, as it's actually really fun playing them there. A good roamer is either a tank that has good sustain, who has the ability to give vision to gain map control, and peeling is another big thing for roamers. Peeling means you try anything you can to protect your ADCs. For example, checking bushes, staying in front of them, using all your abilities you can to protect your allies from diving enemies, etc. It can also be a support hero who brings different abilities to the table, like special skills that counters the enemies or buffs to your allies. Let's start with the A-listers first. Minceta can be easily classified as the best roamer in the game right now. He has a great kit against any dash heroes, which is basically every meta hero, so he is a perfect pick to counter the entire enemy team, which is why he's one of the most banned heroes. The same goes for Khufra. Ever since he got released, he has been considered as one of the best tanks in the game because of the great kit he has. A long-range skill to knock up enemies, his ball trick that stops any dashing rat that tries to run away from him, and a decent setting skill to push or stun his enemies. Franco but also Kaja are still commonly used for their suppression skills, and they are mostly used to focus the best enemy and make their life a living hell. Especially if it's an OP hero like Joy or Arlott. But today, I want to highlight the roamers who couldn't shine a lot before. The supports. They have been greatly buffed with the new support emblem that lets them increase their heals and the 10% CDR and 6% movement speed bonus they got. That is why you're seeing a lot more supports lately. Supports like Estes, Diggy and Angela are more viable in today's meta, but out of all the supports in our roster, Florin is the most popular and OP right now. I'm happy that she finally found her space to fit in today's meta. I'm sure some of you in the comments would argue that Estes heals more compared to Florin, but the thing that makes Florin so good is firstly, she gives a flower to her desired teammate which has crazy good stats. It is practically an extra item for their teammates. And secondly, her ult can nullify the effects from anti-heal for 3 seconds when her passive is at full stacks. This is the perfect skill for a regen hero. And it's not like only one can receive the bypass against anti-heal, it's all of your teammates on the whole map. Lately, she's mostly being partnered with Alpha and Uranus, as these three together are absolutely broken and you're seeing them in the ban section so often because of this. Other notable roamers are Grog with his wave delay, early game pressure and long stun from his ult, Atlas with his overwhelming and frightening presence, where you know if you don't have Purify or Diggy in your team is pretty much F if you guys get ever caught up, and Lolita, who still remains as one of the best roamers for her ability to counter ranged heroes, and for the fact that her ult has the longest AoE stun and the biggest set area in the entire game, which by the way turns invincible when you cast it inside of a bush. The only time you will know that Lolita is casting a ult inside of a bush is if you're suddenly getting slowed down for seemingly no reason at all, and if the adjustments Moonton is planning are actually released as they announced it, she will become the most banned hero in the game, calling it now. Now, what's wrong with the low tier roamers? First, Basha has no set potential like the other roamers, so he'll be outset by every single tank with at least some set potential. And the only thing he really brings to the table is his 50% anti-heal effect, which can be even nullified by the best support hero right now, Barats is just slow AF and can only act as a meat shield without any set potential, and like Barsha, he doesn't offer that much utility to be considered as a good roamer. Seeing Matilda so low is kinda sad considering where she was once. Her consecutive nerfs are so unjust and butchered her whole kit. 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜 ult can get more cancelled than people saying dumb stuff on Twitter, and just like I said before, Gato's ult is so slow I'm sure NA will actually get an M-Series championship trophy before that ults even land. Now, knowing the best heroes is nice, but not everything you need to know. If you're using the wrong emblem, you can shrink your damage by more than 10% in every match. So watch this video why you should never use the mage and marksman emblem. Also a huge shout out to my MLG family members, especially the mythical glory members like Nadav and Banbanban. See you over there!